What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days, Season 7, Episode 13, The Dark is Rising. Let's talk about Matilda and Niles. So, Niles and Matilda go to meet Mr. Ark. Now, Mr. Ark is kind of like a community leader. He's a very authoritative figure in the area that Matilda lives. So, the purpose of them meeting Mr. Ark is because Niles needs someone to stand in as a father figure for him because his own father will not be participating in the knocking ceremony or anything that has anything to do with Niles and Matilda. His family has completely backed out because they do not support this relationship. His family believes that Matilda is taking advantage of Niles or using Niles to come to America or using him for money. So they don't want to have any parts of this relationship. But in order for the knocking ceremony to proceed, Niles will have to have some type of a family member to stand in as to be there, to be a part of the knocking ceremony. So he's going to ask Mr. Ark if he will stand in as a father figure for him. So when they meet Mr. Ark, Niles reaches out his right hand to shake Mr. Ark's right hand. But Mr. Ark doesn't have his own hand, his own natural hand. He has something that is similar to a prosthetic hand. And poor Mr. Ark, it literally looked like something that they probably took off of a mannequin or something and just attached to him because it was not functioning. It was just hanging by his side. So it was very awkward for Niles because he had no idea that Mr. Ark was missing a hand. He had no idea. So that was a very awkward moment for them. But Mr. Ark was like, you know what, forget about it. It's all good. They sit down and Niles starts to make small talk. And Mr. Ark is like, okay, that's cute, but let's get down to business. So Niles asks him formally, will you stand in as my father in the knocking ceremony? Mr. Ark accepts. Niles then begins to explain how he's going to return back to America and then come back at a later date to actually do the marriage. Mr. Ark says, no, that's not how it's going to work. That's not how we do it here in Ghana. The marriage has to take place immediately after the knocking ceremony. So, no, we're going to get married. Y'all are going to get married during this trip after the knocking ceremony. So Niles tries to argue against this and wants to explain why he can't get married right now. And Mr. Ark was like, wait a minute, you asked me to stand as your father figure, to represent your father, right? Okay, I'm in the one that's in control of all of this. And I'm telling you how it's done here. And that's how it's going to be done. So there's no back and forth. There's no arguing. There's no discussion. This is how it is. And also, Mr. Ark has this very deep voice. I mean, he sounds like, God, okay? Like his voice is like the voice of God. And it's not a voice that you really want to argue with. So Mr. Ark says that the knocking ceremony, he kind of was like downplaying the significance of the knocking ceremony. It's necessary, it has to be done, but he was kind of downplaying the magnitude of it. So Niles requests to talk to Mr. Ark in private. So Niles tells him how Matilda told him that the knocking ceremony is going to be this huge ceremony, this huge party, and that Niles is going to have to pay for all these people. He's going to have to pay for the food and the drinks and everything else that's going to go along with the party. Mr. Ark tells him that Niles was supposed to come to him first, that it was wrong for Niles for him to go straight to Matilda's family or to talk to Matilda about anything to do with the marriage or the knocking ceremony, that Niles should have come to him first because he is the authoritative figure in all of this. And he was like, you don't listen to women. You don't listen to Matilda. You should have come to me. But of course, Niles didn't know this. So when they sit down to talk with Matilda, Niles kind of like threw her under the bus in a way. Um, he tells her that he committed a huge faux pas by not coming to Mr. Ark first before going to her family. And so basically he was like telling Matilda, you have me looking like a whole fool out here because I'm not following protocol and you should have told me what I should have been doing. And I was supposed to go to Mr. Ark before ever going to your family. Now, Matilda admits this is true. You should have talked to Mr. Ark first. But Matilda has a good excuse for why Niles went to the family first, because of the fact that he postponed their wedding. Okay, everybody thought that Matilda and Niles were going to be getting married on his first trip to Ghana, but because he postponed the wedding, she wanted him to go to her family and to explain to her family why the wedding was being postponed, because they kind of like had started putting things in motion towards the wedding. So that was the only reason why she wanted him to talk to the family before ever going to Mr. Ark. So Niles also addresses how Matilda asked for money to pay for the knocking ceremony, and Mr. Ark tells them that that wasn't necessary because we're not going to have some big party for the knocking ceremony. It's just going to be the bare bones knocking ceremony, and then it's going to be the bare bones wedding, and that's it. So Niles questions Matilda's intentions. Now he's beginning to question, is she using me for money? You know, exactly what's going on here. Are her intentions genuine? So they leave Mr. Ark and they're in the car, I guess going back to Matilda's house. Matilda is pissed in the car because he made her look like a whole fool in front of Mr. Ark. He kind of like, Niles made it look like Matilda just wanted his money to have this big grand wedding or this big grand party, and that she was just using him for money, and like she didn't even care about following proper protocol. She just wants to have a big bash and have a really good time on Niles's dime. That's how she feels like Niles made her look in front of Mr. Ark. So she is really upset with him because she's never asked him for money any other time other than paying for the knocking ceremony. She's never asked him for money. She's never come off as a gold digger. So she didn't understand why he didn't stand up for her more and be more protective of her in front of Mr. Ark. So Niles says, well, Mr. Ark said that we didn't have to have some big celebration. Matilda said, well, her family, they have friends that they also wanted to participate in the knocking ceremony. And that's why it was as big as it was. It was like 90 to 100 people or however many people it was. It was because her family insisted on, bringing their friends or inviting their friends. So he tells her, well, you know that I'm an introvert. I don't like being around a whole bunch of people. Matilda was like, well, why didn't you just tell me that? Why didn't you tell me that she didn't want to have a big celebration? We could have talked about it. So, but then again, at the same time, Matilda kind of made it seem like this was what they did in Ghana. They have this big tradition because she mentioned how her sister also had a big celebration for her knocking ceremony. So she kind of made it seem like there was no choice, that it had to be this big celebration. So I can kind of understand why Niles didn't, put his foot down and said, no, I don't want to have a big celebration. I just want your family and that's it. Because he probably thought, well, this is how they do it here, and I'm not going to question it. So at some point, Niles gets really frustrated with her in the car, and his face got like really angry, and he was like, just stop talking. And that's where their segment ended. There's a lot of miscommunication between Niles and Matilda. There's a lot of misunderstanding also between these two people because everything is like, well, because of the fact that, Niles is autistic, he doesn't pick up on social cues. He doesn't really communicate very well, I guess, what he's really thinking. And so a lot of stuff goes unsaid. And what is Matilda to do? She doesn't know what to ask him because she doesn't know what he's struggling with because he doesn't tell her what he's struggling with. Like the whole entire time he was struggling with telling her that he didn't want to get married on his first trip to Ghana, he never told her that. He had so many opportunities before he even left the United States to tell her, but he never did. And it's all because of the fact that he's autistic and he doesn't know how to communicate properly and he doesn't know how to pick up on social cues, et cetera, et cetera. So there's like this huge misunderstanding. But the problem is that when he doesn't communicate, and I'm not blaming him for not being able to communicate, but when he doesn't communicate, the problem is that she's like moving on with her plans. So she's relying on the fact that because he's not expressing, well, she's not relying on it, but because he's not expressing himself, she's saying that everything is fine. She's thinking that they're on the same page. So she's planning this wedding, she's planning this huge ceremony, all this stuff is going on. And the whole entire time, he doesn't want none of this to happen, but he can't communicate that. And him telling her that, I don't want to be, I never wanted a big party. Well, why didn't you just tell me? I just don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say about these people because he has a legit problem, right? He has a legit issue, but this issue is causing bigger problems. Now they're having this big argument in the car because she feels like, he threw her under the bus in front of Mr. Ark and made her look really bad in front of someone that is like a respectable member of their community. And I just felt like, and because he's autistic, he doesn't really know, but he really should have put up a united front with Matilda in front of Mr. Ark. And I don't know why Matilda didn't tell Mr. Ark, well, the reason why we went to my family before coming to you was because he postponed the wedding. And he had to explain to my family why he did that. So I don't know why she didn't say that in front of Mr. Ark. And it's probably has a lot to do with her showing him respect and not wanting to be argumentative in front of him. But still, it was, oh, I felt like it was okay for her to have said that, to have just said, look, we do apologize for not coming to you first. And I did encourage him to talk to my family because of the fact that, he has some explaining to do. So I don't know. I don't know what the future of this relationship is going to be like when someone is autistic and they're having communication issues. I just don't know. So let's just move on to Vanya and Bojo. So we're at the part where Vanya and Bojo are meeting up with Bojo's friends at the bar or at the restaurant. And Bojo had basically revealed that, look, I'm just not that interested in her. There's no chemistry between us. I'm not really feeling any kind of romantic connection. Their friends are like, getting on his case for that. I'm like, why are they getting on his case for that? If he doesn't feel anything, he doesn't feel anything. I mean, I don't there's, they shouldn't be encouraging him to just give it a try and try this and try that one. No, if he doesn't feel, he doesn't feel it. Because if he tries to make a connection when he doesn't feel the connection, Vanya's just going to be hurt more later. But anyway, so she storms out because she's like, okay, he's not interested in me. I'm out of here. So she storms out. He ends up following her after the friends basically pressure him to go after her. So he goes out there to talk to her. She doesn't want to talk to him. He's trying to apologize to her. She doesn't want to hear it. So he's like, look, I just want to say that I'm sorry. She's like, okay, fine, whatever, apology accepted, now go away. So Bojo tells us that he doesn't want to be fake with her, but he was fake with her, and we'll get to that later. He's not a stranger to being fake. So he tells her, he tells us in his confessional, well, I don't want to be fake with her because she deserves 100% devotion. So it's the next day. He texts her, he sends her a message letting her know that, hey, I want to meet up so we can talk about this. So they meet up. When they met at the outside cafe, and I realized that there's a lot of outside cafes on this show, but when they met at the outside cafe, it was cold because she had a coat on and everybody around them was dressed for cold weather, and there was a fierce wind blowing, and he was there in just a short sleeve t-shirt. And Vanya was like, aren't you cold? And he was like, no, I'm fine. That man was cold. He was cold. But anywho, so she basically wants to know, why did you lead me on? He's like, I did not lead you on. And then she says, well, why would you have me come all the way to Croatia if there was no romantic connection? He said, well, I thought there was a romantic connection. We were communicating, on the phone and whatnot. But when you actually arrived, I realized that there really wasn't a spark between us. And I really wanted you to come here. I wanted you to be here. I wanted to spend time with you. But when you arrived, I felt differently. And then she was like, so why were you telling me that you loved me? He was like, well, I never said that I loved you. I never said that. And he tells her, if I said that, you're going to have to show me. Well, in their confessional, she shows him all the text messages. And there's messages from him to her where he tells her, I love you. Several times. He told her that. So they basically break up. They end everything. And my final thoughts on Bojo and Vanya is that, Bojo, you led her on. I don't know what you were seeking, what you were looking for, but you led that woman on. When you were telling her that you loved her through those text messages, you really didn't love her. And you know that you had no business telling her that. Okay, I don't know what he was looking for. I don't know if he was trying to hurry up and get under somebody because he's trying to get over somebody else. I don't know, because it definitely wasn't that, because when he saw her, he wasn't physically attracted to her. So there was no sex going on between them. He couldn't use he couldn't be like, well, I'm just trying to hurry up and sleep with somebody else so I can forget my ex. It wasn't even about that. So I don't know what his game plan was. why he let this woman come all the way across the world when he had no feelings for her. But that was an awful thing to do. That was a really awful, immature thing for him to do. And then also, Vanya, sweetheart, my little cupcake. Girl, this man is doing nothing for you. Okay, he's not doing anything for you. He doesn't have a job, or he worked. I don't know what's going on with his employment. He plays basketball part-time or something. He lives with his mother, which I know it's the culture probably in Croatia to live with your parents when you're an adult, no big deal. But like, what is he? You're not losing anything. So like, I don't know. Yes, your ego is definitely bruised because, you thought that you were really this was going to be some type of like a whirlwind romance, and he broke your heart. Fine. But I don't know, just like, he doesn't deserve all of this, all of your time and energy like this. I would not even have met with this guy at the cafe. When he sent her that message, hey, can we meet up and talk about it? I would have been like, I'm sorry, I'm 30,000 feet in the air on my way back to the United States. I can't make it. That's how it should have went. Instead of her giving him the time, for him to spew more lies at her at that cafe. No, ma'am. No, he doesn't deserve that. He does not deserve any more of your time after you stormed out of that restaurant when he told you and his friends that he felt nothing for you. That would have been the last time he should have seen you. But it's over now. They've broken up. Thank God. Let's move on to Faith and Loren. So it's the last day in Faith's hometown, and her and Loren are talking about their relationship. They're at an outside cafe or outside whatever, and they're eating and they're talking about their relationship. And Faith questions if he's ever going to cheat again. And he tells her, I will never cheat on you again. When I did cheat, it was like a misunderstanding. And basically, a misunderstanding in his mind, it was a misunderstanding on her part. He thought he was being transparent and honest with her when he was telling her, yeah, I'm going to go spend the night at Julie's house. And he thought that she knew what that meant. I'm going to go spend the night, which means me and Julie are going to be, having sex. He felt like she should have known that, but she didn't know that. And he never said, I'm sleeping with someone else. I'm having sexual relations with another person. I'm going to Julie's house and we're going to be having intercourse. He never said anything like that. He was like, I'm going to be crashing at a friend's couch, or I'm going to be, spending the night with a friend. And she took him literally like, I'm just going to be sleeping at a friend's house and nothing else. But anywho, we've talked about that ad nauseum. So he promises, I'm never going to cheat on you again. You're my only one. Now that we're officially together, I will never, ever be with anybody else. All I want is you. So then he asks her, so can I be your boyfriend again? And she says yes. So they're back to being boyfriend and girlfriend. Then he talks about marriage. So because in the Philippines, same-sex marriages are not allowed, he has really brainstormed this. Loren has really done his research on finding a way for him and Faith to get married. So his suggestion is, he has two separate suggestions or two separate plans on how they can get married. Plan number one is they can both go to Thailand, where he says same-sex marriage is allowed. They can get married in Thailand, come back to the Philippines, and then he can apply for his citizenship. I think that's how I understood it. That's plan one. Plan two, they don't have to go anywhere at all. They can stay right there in the Philippines. But then instead of marrying Faith, because that's not allowed, he would marry Faith's mother, just for him to basically defraud the government and try to get citizenship. And of course, Faith is like, marry my mother? Like, are you crazy? No, that's ridiculous. To him, he thinks it's brilliant because Loren is special. Loren is just in his own stratosphere, because like, I don't see how anybody would agree to something like that. First of all, it's just downright fraudulent. You're on camera talking about how you want to defraud the government, the Philippine government, by marrying your girlfriend's mother just to get citizenship. Like, what are you doing, Loren? And I'm not understanding, like, why even bring that up when y'all could do plan A, which is just to go to Thailand and get married. And then, if that's, because he made it seem like it's really simple. You don't need a visa to go to Thailand. All you need is a passport. Hop over to Thailand, get married, hop on back, and get your citizenship. He made it seem really simple, which I'm pretty sure it's not that easy. But I don't know why he even brought up plan B. So she was like, yeah, I got to think about that. So they're at Faith's mother's house. They're doing karaoke, and Faith tells us that karaoke is very, very popular in the Philippines. Just about everybody has a karaoke machine, but you can do karaoke up until 10 o'clock at night in your own home. You can only go on until 10 o'clock at night. And if you go past the curfew, the police are going to come knocking. So right before they leave her mother's house, Loren tells Faith, he basically like forces her to tell her family about his two plans on how he can get citizenship, basically, because all of this is about him getting citizenship. He wants to be able to remain in the Philippines, and a lot of people are saying it's because he's running away from some financial obligations in the United States. Like, he owes a lot of child support. His ex-wife is looking for him for this child support. I guess I don't know if he's got court dates waiting for him or judgments against him or whatever the hell is going on in the United States. He's trying to run away from something, and so he's trying to hurry up and get citizenship in the Philippines. So it's really not about the fact that he loves Faith or whatever. It's because he's just trying to get citizenship. So he forces her to tell her family about his two plans. When they get to the plan about him marrying the mother, the family thought it was so ridiculous that they didn't even believe it. Okay, they didn't even like give it much time. And he was like offended by that. My whole thing is, let's forget about the whole marriage thing. Let's go back to Faith accepting him as her boyfriend. I was like, no, ma'am. Faith, no. I understand as a trans woman, it's difficult for you to find true love with, a cisgendered man. And I think Loren would be considered cisgender because he identifies the gender that he was assigned at birth, right? So I understand that, to find a man that really loves you for who you are and is not just using you as a fetish or using you for sex or just curious, someone who's really into you as a person and wants to be with you and love you and spend the rest of their life with you. I get it, Faith girl, I get it. But I don't think Loren has fidelity in him. I don't think this man knows how to spell fidelity. So I don't think this is a good match. I'm very protective of my girl Faith, and I don't think Loren is the best that she can do. And it's sad if she thinks that Loren is the best that she can do. She even questioned why he wanted to hurry up and get married. She was kind of like, it seems like he's just trying to, get citizenship here. And the fact that he was so careful, him cheating is one thing, but then him cheating, knowing that he had a girlfriend in the Philippines, and then him not even practicing safe sex, that's concerning to me. That's very concerning. And that alone, I would be like, I can't trust you. I can't put my health at risk because you don't know how to keep it in your pants. And you don't know how to, when it's not in your pants, you don't know how to protect it. So I can't trust you because you're just reckless out there. Forget about the fact that you cheated. We could probably would have worked through that, but just the fact that he cheats in an unsafe way, that right there should be enough for her to run for the hills. But, I don't know what she's going to end up doing, but I just don't even see, to me, Loren, it's all in his eyes. His eyes to me are not warm. Okay, when he's looking at Faith, I don't see warmth. I don't see love. I don't see compassion. I don't see any of that in his eyes. His eyes to me are very cold. And he seems like, behind his eyes, you can just tell that this man is just scheming. He's scheming and he's plotting something. He does not come off as trustworthy at all to me. Moving on to Magda and Joe. So Joe has arrived. We all saw that, and he's going to be in Poland for 3 weeks. So he feels like that there's a connection between him and Magda. He feels like it's very natural between them, like, they've known each other their whole lives. But he doesn't even know how to pronounce her name. So the producers kind of get on him, like, why do you say Magna instead of Magda? And he had no idea what the girl's name was because he was confused. And so he says that Magna just flows better out of his mouth. Okay, fine, whatever. So they arrive at their little apartment or Airbnb that they're going to be staying in together. And Magda makes it very clear to Joey that we are going to be sleeping in separate bedrooms. And so he obviously frowns at that. And Magda says that she wants them to build a very strong foundation that's not going to be just based on sex. So Joe, of course, he hopes to charm his way into her bedroom. He's not listening to any of that about, foundation that's not based on sex and blah, blah, blah. He don't want to hear none of that. He wants to get in her bed quick and in a hurry. So they go out for lunch at an outside cafe, and he asks her if they can sleep in the same room. And she's like, no, I'm standing my ground. No, we're not going to sleep in the same room. She was really adamant about that. So Joey's like, I know she wants to get married and she wants to have kids, but it's ridiculous for her to think that any of this is going to happen without us having sex first. And it's really sad that he thinks that that's ridiculous, because obviously I haven't done no damn scientific study or whatever, but I just feel like it is so possible to start a relationship and to wait until you have sex. I think a lot of people have done this. This used to be the practice back in the day, no sex until marriage. Up until like when maybe like, I mean, people were still doing it, but the custom or the tradition or the way of the land was to wait until you were married. And I think you can still build a decent relationship, a great relationship, if you wait on having, or if you postpone sex until marriage. I see nothing wrong with that. Because if you really truly love each other, and you really do love each other, and this person means a lot to you, you really care for them, y'all are going to learn how to make that work after you're married. You know, the fact that you're expecting this mind blowing sex before you marry the girl, and that's going to be one of the factors that you're going to use to determine whether or not you're going to marry her, it's ridiculous to me, because you could, no one is born knowing how to have the greatest sex in the world. It is something that is acquired, and everybody's different. Just because, you took this girl to heaven and back doesn't mean that the same technique is going to work on another girl. So you just have to learn each other. So what is wrong with waiting until you're married to learn each other? I mean, she didn't say no sex, period. She said no sex until, I don't know, they get married, or until he proposes, or he comes to the United States, whatever her deadline is. She wants to wait until then before y'all can have. I don't understand like why that's such a big deal to him, because he is stressing the hell out about that. Because he's like, I need to know here and now, right now, that we're sexually compatible. But she don't understand that if you love each other, y'all will become sexually compatible. Just because it's awkward or y'all don't really know what the other one wants in the beginning doesn't mean it's going to stay like that. You're going to learn each other. The next day, they're out having, they're tasting vodka. They're doing like a vodka tasting outside. And once again, he brings up sex, and she says that she's not going to do it unless he proposes. So he's not going to propose until he knows how they are in bed. I don't even think he cares about how they are in bed. He just wants to bang her. Okay, he just wants to bang her. That's all it is. He doesn't really care if they're sexually compatible or not. He's there in Poland for 3 weeks, and he can't imagine being with this girl for 3 weeks and not having sex with her. It's got nothing to do with, I need to test it out. I need to know how we are for sexually compatible. No, it's just, I need to bang this girl because I'm here in Poland with her. So makes him wonder. Okay, so because of the fact that she wants to wait until he proposes, it makes him question if she's just with him for a green card. Who the hell knows? She tells him that she needs to build trust with him after he slept with another girl. So then she begins to interrogate him on this whole sleeping with another girl thing. When did it happen? He can't remember, but it was sometime around her birthday. So she's pissed off about that. What else is going on here? Oh, she also had told him before she began the interrogation. She told him that when they first met, she automatically got a ring and put it on as an engagement ring to ward off any men. And he would thought that was crazy. He was like, we had just met, of course, over the phone or whatever. They had just met, and immediately she got a ring to keep men away from her because, she was with him. And during that time, he's sleeping with other girls. He has no idea that this is a serious committed relationship. He had no idea. So that begs, I'm asking the question, what was discussed early on in the relationship? If it was never talked about that they were going to be serious with one another, then he didn't do anything wrong when he was out there still sleeping around with other girls. If it was talked about and he did promise her commitment and monogamy, then we have a problem. But if he didn't, and that was never discussed, why would she automatically assume that they were in a committed relationship? So, like, I don't understand when they're talking about this, when she's asking him, who did you sleep with? When did it happen? Blah, blah, blah. Like going deep and deeper and deeper into that whole situation. Why don't they talk about, but wait a minute, we didn't even talk about commitment or monogamy. We never had that discussion. I did not know that we were in a committed relationship. We never put a label on this. We didn't call each other boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't understand like why he doesn't say that. So he couldn't remember when it happened. She's getting frustrated. And I'm just like, Magda, I need you to slow down just a tad. Get to know each other. Don't spend this whole entire 3 weeks talking about what he did in the past. Get to know each other. Build something with this man. You know, I don't think they've really built, I don't know. I don't know what they've done because they don't want to talk about it. But now that he's here in Poland, try to build something with him. Get to know each other. If he did, he did. You can't undo it. So let's not talk about that anymore. You know that he slept with at least one girl during the time when you thought that y'all were in a relationship. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. Chalk it up to that. And then start fresh and get to know each other. Start to get to know each other. Moving on to Ingrid and Brian. So they meet up with Brian's friend, Brian. And Brian is really not a factor in this at all. Okay. He really did not contribute much to the scene. So they're talking and, Brian brings up his most recent ex-wife or soon to be ex-wife because they have a divorce pending. And he talks about how he can't find this woman to sign the papers. And so during this conversation, it comes out that Brian has been married 4 times, plus he's had 3 fiancés. Ingrid had no idea. She only knew about 2 ex-wives. So she's shocked. And she's like, why didn't you tell me? And his dumb excuse is, well, you didn't ask. Okay, but that is something that you would think that someone that you want to build a relationship with, that they should know that. Like, I don't understand why you're waiting around. Y'all, I can't with Brian. Oh, Lord have mercy. I can't. Okay, so whatever. He gave a dumb answer. Everybody knows he should have just volunteered the information. Maybe she didn't want to pry into his personal life. So there was nothing wrong with him volunteering that information. I don't know why he was trying to play coy. Ingrid tells us that there must be something wrong with Brian if he can't keep a wife, if he keeps on getting married and he still ends up alone. He admitted that he did lie. Then they talk about Brian's age. He does admit that he lied about his age to keep the grandmas away. He says he didn't want to put up on his profile that he was 50 years old because he didn't want nobody, I guess, 50 and up approaching him. So the reason why this is significant is because he inadvertently basically admits that he lied to her before when he told her that he never lied to her about her age, because she had, this was in an earlier episode where he had admitted his age, and she was like, wait a minute, you're 50? I thought you were 45. And he was like, well, what made you think that? And then she was like, because that's what your profile picture said, or that's what your dating profile said, you were 45. I never said that. So they go back and forth, and he was basically like, you just don't know how to do math, right? So now he admits that he did put that he was 45 in order to keep older women away from him. He's such a cad. And Ingrid has already figured this out. She's just appeasing him, for the remainder of his time in Brazil. Ingrid has no intentions of staying with this man. None, zero, nada. She's just trying to appease him. And then once he is on his way back to America, I don't think she plans on ever talking to this man again. I'm not understanding why he has to be like this. So he gets caught up in his own damn lies. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, fine. Veah and Sunny. Oh my God. So so we're at that part where it was Sunny, Rory, and Veah. They're all together at the pool hall, and Veah refused to send Rory home because Sunny told her, you need to choose between us. You need to send him home. And she was like, no, I'm not going to send him home. So he ran out. She follows him. She runs after him. And she's trying to let him know, I love you. I don't love him. There's nothing going on between me and him. You're the man that I want to be with. He's just a friend, blah, blah, blah. And so he tells her, well, if he's just a friend, you're going to have to send him home. She's like, no, I'm not going to do that. They go back and forth, back and forth. And so he's so sick and tired of it all. He's like, you know what? If you don't want to send him home, then I'm not going to be with you. You need to choose him or me. So she finally decides to choose him. But then she tells us, and this makes her feel like Sunny doesn't have any faith in their relationship. Veah, you do understand this is unusual. Okay? This is odd for the average man to process. And the thing is, it's like, I don't even think that it's the issue of her being friends with Rory. It's the fact that she comes to this country without even telling Sunny that she's coming with him. If she just would have been honest about that, and if he didn't want to deal with it, that was his prerogative. That was his choice to not want to deal with it. But she should have at least have been honest with him. And I'm pretty sure that she probably could have convinced him that it was cool for Rory to travel with her if she told him all the stuff that she ended up telling him anyway, about all the stuff that she told him, and how he's like basically there for support and all the stuff. After, he probably would have been like, okay, bring him along, that's fine. But because you took that choice away from him, that's what he can't deal with. And he feels like a damn fool knowing that he is professing his love to you and trying to make this a very special moment for you, and the whole entire time you're hiding your ex-boyfriend. He feels foolish. And I don't know why Veah doesn't realize that you made this man feel foolish because you were dishonest. It's not so much because you are still friends with your ex. It's because you were dishonest about this man being in South Africa while Sunny is trying to go above and beyond for you, and here you are hiding a whole boyfriend or ex-boyfriend. But she says that she chooses Sunny and she's gonna send Rory home. But we'll see if that happens, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I truly, truly do. On your way out, please do not forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.